Morning, all. We'll start our session. In the last class, we were just talking about test execution part. In the test execution part, uh, where we stress more on test automation. Why automation is required? What is the advantage of doing the automation and all those things? For doing the automation, you need to build a similar type of code, test code, which resembles your actual program, and from that you need to call each one of the functionality that you have designed with. So each one of the functionality along with the program, your test case will also call it. So it will be checking out how it behaves. This is what we have studied with respect to one of the concept called as scaffolding. For doing the scaffolding, three different techniques we have just included. One is called as test harnesses. Test harnesses is nothing but the simulation part that we are doing it. So it resembles the exact it resembles, I'm not saying it is exactly, it resembles the exact scenario of the real world environment, and it will check for the test cases. The other thing is you will be having a main program where you will be driving the entire particular test suite, that is called as test drivers. And for function calls and all those things, you require stubs. This is what the categories that has been designed with respect to your scaffolding part. So this is what we studied in the last class. Now we'll just move one step ahead. We have a one tool which can automate all the particular scenarios. Uh, uh, if I just can ask you a simple question, if you have not got anything, whatever we just discussed in the last class, don't worry about it. I'll just give you a small example. How many of you know how your biometric device works? Can anybody tell me how your biometric devices work? It may be a thumb impression device or face recognition or anything. Biometric, the entire biological body, whatever you have, that one to be recognized with respect to one of the particular object. Everything is called as object and subjects both are. So now coming back to the topic, so just try to explain me how, or just if you can raise your hand, that's more than enough here. Instead of explaining, just recall what are all the things that happens with respect to your biometric device. For example, your thumb impression, how it will be working. See, the concept behind your biometric devices or image processing is first, or else your data, uh, what do you call, data scientist job, um, machine learning, right? Yeah. With respect to that concept, I'll just explain you how this automation is all about and how it will be recognized and how it will be functioned. Then we'll come back to this oracles. Don't worry about it. Okay. So with respect to your image processing, say for example, you have a thumb impression of a person to be recognized as so and so person or something like that. First of all, the first and the foremost thing is we need to have, or we need to record all the 10 particular fingers or a thumb only. If you are taking a two thumb impressions should be available in my particular database. So two images I need to record it previously. Once I record that particular two thumb impressions, because two hands we have, so that's why two thumbs I'm just talking about. Only with respect to the fingers, that two with respect to hand I'm talking about. If you are worried about the foot also, you can generate it. There is no problem. Only thing is you need to you need to take that particular images and you need to keep it in your database. This is the first step. Then whatever the image that you have captured or whatever the data that you have collected, for that you will be applying one technique that is called as feature analysis. That is where your machine learning technique comes into picture. Why that particular thing should come into picture? That may be the second question. Simply, if you are putting anything into the computer, it should be going and residing there into, it should be converted to a number. For converting that to a number, I cannot help, or I cannot say one particular sample will give you the right output. You need to record certain samples. In order to get those particular samples, you require feature extraction technique. each point you'll be recognizing it. This is very important. Depending on that, you'll be just choosing it. That algorithm is completely different. Once you have taken that features, that is main samples, if you have taken it, then you start building a mathematical model. After building a mathematical model, you may compute a value, store that value somewhere in your computer. Next time, if the same person comes and if the person uses the right term or left term, that will be recorded. The same procedure will continue. Then it will check for the mathematical model that you have chosen. With respect to that, it will compute the value. It will compare that value with respect to the previously stored value. Once they are one and the same, it will result that this is so and so person with the label. This is the actual thing that is happening with respect to your biometric devices. It may be with respect to fingerprint, it may be with respect to face recognition, it may be with respect to any other thing. Understanding it? So this is the simple example that I'm giving you. Why I'm giving you all these things? See here, you may be coding this with respect to your Python, where you will be getting the real-time experience, and you may get the actual output also. That is one thing. Test harness here is if it is using any particular simulation model to just generate this type of output, then it is called as test harnesses. If in case it will drive that particular test cases into a device and it works actually what you are expecting to it, then it is called as emulator type of devices. That you can just feed the values and it will just come out. See here, first you are recognizing, first you are taking the images, capturing it, computing some values and keeping it. So this is called as training phase. We are training a particular message or data according to your particular pattern. That's it. Next thing is the actual testing comes into picture. If someone else comes, then it should reject. If anything else, it may also accept it. There is no doubt in it. So because all are in terms of numeric values, if the same value is computed by this other objects also, then it may recognize that so and so person is present. There is no question of doubting about it, because there is no doubt about it, because a numeric value, even if you give an image of a book, it may recognize it as a person. There may be a chances. We call that as false acceptance rate. And sometimes what happens, your own image may not be recognized, even though your image is already captured, already processed, everything is done, but still it is not, it is failing to recognize humans. That is called as false rejection rate. It is that, but it is saying no, it is not that. So this are all the topics that we will be just seeing it with respect to your biometric type of devices. Same particular example, if we keep in our mind, we can explain this test execution technique. See that one time human intervention is needed. For one time, everything should be captured and it should be taken care. That is what we will be doing it with respect to your driver test case suit. Once that is done, the next time it will capture the image and it will be just computing the values in the similar fashion what it was done with respect to the samples that has been taken previously. So now with respect to that, it will just compare and it will just show you the result, what it will be. Understanding it? So this is the best example that I can give you with respect to your automation type of scenario. So now coming back to this topic, here we have one more tool like that, whatever I said, a biometric tool. In the similar fashion, there is one more tool called as Oracles. What this Oracles is all about? It is not the software which we have used it with respect to your DBMS. That's a complete different name, and this is completely a different tool. So this is used for test automation. Understanding it? See, one particular statement has been given. First statement, if you just see that question and the sub point that has been given for that particular question. Did this test case succeed or fail? One simple question. Any particular test case, whatever you design, whether it has been succeeded or failed. That is the question. No use running 10,000 test cases automatically if the result must be checked by hand. See, suppose I want to give one particular input and I need to check what is the output that is coming over there. Next, I need to take one more input, then I need to check one more particular. Block by block, I need to check it. Then there is no question of using the automation over there. Instead of it, manual testing is more than enough. That's what they are saying. When it will be succeeded, when it will be failed, because whenever you want to check that particular product by hand, there is no question of automating that particular product. You can go with manual handling itself. Whereas with respect to any cases, like I said, the simple example I can give you here is, if you want to design a normal boundary value analysis technique, that is 13 cases are required, you can write it by your own manually. You can just calculate, or you can just evaluate it, and you can just come out with a example. Suppose the same particular thing should be applied for a weak boundary value analysis. Weak boundary value analysis, it purely depends on the number of inputs, right? So it will be not 4n plus 1 anymore. So weak normal, it will be taking care with respect to 6 times of n plus 1. If you go with weak robust or strong robust, so with respect to that, the number of test cases will be increased, 125 or something like that. How it will be, if it is a weak one, going with 5 to the power of n. If it is a strong one, then it will be going with 7 to the power of n. This is how it will be working. So with respect to this particular scenario, if you want to generate it, it is of no use to use the human intervention method. That is a traditional method that we are going with it. So instead of it, you can automate it. Just taking a combination of Cartesian product of all the particular combinations, it is easy for me to automate it. So it is better to automate and get the result for it. So that it is better to go with automation tool. So if you are designing a very small amount of test cases, then it is easy for you to design by your own hand. There is no problem at all. So why I took this example is, when I gave you the assignment for you guys, one particular person has raised a question whether we need to write all the 125 test cases. I told yes. You need to know how difficult it is. You are talking about only 3 variables, that too with respect to your worst case. If I'm talking about 7 or 8 variables, then it will be completely different scenario. So at that particular point of time, you need to think of it. So you cannot manually compute all the particular cases. Instead of it, go with automation type of testing. Understanding it? So how to do it? Range of specific to generic. Specific to generic. See, specific in the sense, in the last class only we have just analyzes what is the specific scaffolding, or what is the specific type of analysis, and general type of analysis. General is for all. It may come with respect to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, n number of variables. You need to just have a test case design for it. Specific for only one type of scenario. That is one variable at a time, only one variable that can be addressed. 2 variables, yes, 2 variables. I'm talking about the boundary value analysis right now. I'm not talking about any other particular technique. So you can design the same thing for n number of techniques. So with respect to your functional testing, where you're leaving or you're deciding the test cases with respect to the specifications that has been provided, you can always automate such a type of test cases. Understanding it? So for that, the best example that they have given you is JUnit. JUnit is nothing but Java-based unit. There in the yesterday's class, if you can just remember, one diagram was that. First one was MVC controller. Second one was program functionality. The third particular block was MVC view. And after, with respect to only this one, the comparability and the operationality cannot be handled completely. So just because of it, we will be designing a test driver, and we'll be just feeding the test driver one particular part to the program functionality. Above this particular program functionality, we had one more particular topic called as API. What is this API is all about? Application Programming Interface. Why it is required? The test case is designed from a separate particular area. From that, if you want to access your particular programs, there should be some interface given for it. For desire, for just checking for that particular interface, or just to analyze it, you require an interface. Simple example is your database design. You have a Java program written for just checking whether the username and password that you have entered in the text boxes, respective text boxes, whether it is correct or not, or whether it has been registered previously or not. You need to check it. That's it. Fine. So you will be writing the program in the Java. But if you say select star from something else, something else, something else, it is not understood by your Java program. For that, what you require? You require an interface. What is the interface? Interface name is SQL. JDBC, ODBC driver will be just involving it. With respect to that one particular driver, there are five different types of drivers available. Whether you are using native drivers or whether you are using JDBC, ODBC bridge, which one you are using, depending on that, it will be working. So that bridge you will be just giving it. What is that particular bridge? It is nothing but the communication from your Java language to the SQL oriented language. And here it is not necessary that your SQL client should be always Oracle. It can be a number of any particular software where your structured query language can be understood. Understanding it. So that is how it will be function. So in the similar manner, your driver, test driver is a different particular program. Your actual MVC controller is a different program. Both the things need to be matched. For that, API is required. Then it will go with the next part. Next part is program functionality. Whatever the functions that you are addressing, I know that particular addresses, so I'll act with respect to that, and I'll just output those particular values. Outputting those particular values need to be wrapped enough so that whatever the values that it is coming, it can understand and it can display it on the screen. For that, wrapper classes are needed at the MVC view. That's what they have just given it. Same thing scenario here also, we are just using it. Now we have written the code in the Java, and now we have written the same particular test case design in the Java. With respect to that, one particular test suite is that is called as JUnit. JUnit refers to Java type of test case design that you can design it. So here many particular things comes over here, that is assert equals, assert not equals, or something like that. What is this assert equals and not equals? All these are API calls which is already present in your Java. So if you want to combine your particular program with respect to test case statements, then you need to just give it. What you need to give it inside it? Inside the API call. API call is nothing but a function call. What are all the things that you need to give it? So you need to provide the actual output followed by what you are expecting. So once the actual output and the whatever the expected output matches, then it will say it has been passed. Otherwise, it will say it has been failed. This is what it will be saying with respect to your JUnit type of test case design. The next one is typical approaches comparison-based Oracle with the predicated output value. So this JUnit is nothing but you will be comparing it hand to hand. That is one by one comparison, one after the other. How you will be comparing in the same fashion. Instead of it, the whole set need to be compared. At last, you need to just get the output. Means there is a comparison based. For this, I have already given the example of biometric devices. In the same particular manner, they have a block diagram available. What this diagram says. First, we understand this diagram. What is this diagram? There is a test case design where you will be giving some test input followed by expected output. You will be just writing. That's what I said. Next one is you will be maintaining a simulation part. Simulation part is nothing but the test harness with comparison based Oracle. That is, whatever the expected output comes, with respect to that, whatever your program under test is that, for that also you'll be feeding this particular inputs. Once that particular input is coming, with respect to this input, the program how it behaves will be capturing the output. We'll be comparing here with respect to your expected output and the program output that you got it. That is actual output. Once it is done, it will check for whether it is passed or failed. This is called as comparison based Oracle. It is fine for a small number of hand generated test cases. It's comparison based. If you are designing it for 1,000, okay, it may do it fine. But what about that 1 lakh type of test cases? There will be a big question mark in our mind. So because of it, so if you take an example, what the analogy that we have just took it previous to Oracle discussion, that is biometric type of devices. So there you may not have only one image of one particular person, because you need to take in all the angles how that particular person looks, and all the particular occlusion that they will be wearing. Occlusion in the sense some of them may be wearing goggles or spectacles. So, or some may be having some mustache, some may be having some beard, some may be having some other particular mark. So with respect to one particular one side of the face, you may get a one particular type of view. So all those particular angles in all the way, you need to just take the pictures and store it in your database, because we don't know exactly how it will be coming. So wherever it is matching, then it need to compute the value. This is what it is saying. So with respect to that, Fine. One particular straight way, if you want to just capture the image with respect to only front side of your particular image, not the side face of your image, then it's okay. You can just capture it and you can keep it. But what happens if you increase the number of images of single person followed by n number of such persons if you are having humans, then what will be the test case? Then your comparison based oracle does not come into picture. Instead of it, they'll just move on to that one particular thing called as self-checking code as oracle. Everything is one and the same. Only thing is the expected output, what you are feeding it from your test case design is removed from it. It will learn by itself. One time I'll show it how it need to be done. The rest of the time I'll not be handling any particular design. See what happens with respect to your previous one is, okay, yeah, with respect to a comparison based oracle, here test case need to be designed. For this test case, what is the expected output? You need to calculate, you need to compute and store it. Then you need to apply it for your program that you are running to. So with respect to this program, whatever it comes, you need to capture it. Then you need to compare it with respect to this. This is what happens. So this one separately you need to take care, and this particular test input based on that you need to compute one more time. So 2 times you need to compute it. So just to avoid it, self-checking what it will be doing, I'll be just feeding only the test input. That's what I'm just keeping quiet. Next time I'm not going to intervene. I'm not going to be anywhere. I'm just keeping quiet instead of coming in between your test case route followed by your test harnesses. What you will be doing is with respect to your self-based, so test input will be fed it and keeping quiet. In your test harness, that is your exact simulation part, what you are having, exact program to be checked will be there, followed by self-check. That is one time whatever the thing that you are just giving it, so it will be having its particular output in it. So the same thing will be repeated n number of times as your program will be under test. So with respect to this, if the program fails, failure notification comes into picture. Otherwise, it will give you the right output. That is what it will be having. The advantages and limits with respect to your Oracle self-code checking they have given it, usually with large automatically generated test case source. This is where we'll be just using it, but oftenly only a partial check. That is all the combinations. That's what I said with respect to your biometric devices. Always it will not give you the right output. There may be chance of false acceptance followed by false rejection. So that's why you need to be very careful enough to in order to handle this test case suits. Most number of the times you may recognize the failures, but not all. That's what they are saying it. See, even if you give a image of a bench, it may recognize you as a person. Your image, if you have taken it first, you have captured it, you have just trained it, everything is done. You're again coming back, and if you give an image of a bench, it may accept you as yourself itself. There may be chances. So that's what they will be saying it with respect to partially check. So 100% we never get a software product. Okay. So the other one is, okay, you're doing it oftenly. So what happens if you just capture those particular type of similar type of events? We call it as macros. It is present in the Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, everywhere. So what it will be doing is, its job is very simple. One time it will just check for wherever the cursor or what are all the things that you'll be doing in the screen. It will capture it and it will hold it. Next time, if you just run up or if you just press a hotkey or a key, whichever is available for it, so then everything will be taken care by it. Suppose if you want to, I'll give you a simple example for this. I just got a job in a multinational company. In that particular company, they gave me a small assignment. The assignment is very simple. I need to capture or I need to copy the values from one particular file, and I need to save it in a, I need to store it, I need to put it in a web page. There are several fields. In those fields, I need to just capture it. Manually, if you do it, there will be a lot of human intervention will be there. There may be chances of copying it wrongly with respect to that particular field. So now, how can I overcome this? For that, if you can use macros. What you will be doing in the macros is, You'll just open that. You'll just show it for the first particular row of the data that you are having it. So each one of the column, you'll be just feeding it separately for the one time. And you'll show it and you'll record it. Then you start replaying it. That is, if you press that hotkey, the second particular row, third row, fourth row, it will be in the loop. So it goes on capturing the values until the no data is found. This is nothing but your capture and replay technique, where a hardly one-time human intervention will be there. Human input need to be taken into consideration. Rest of it, it will be done by itself. Understanding it? So this is nothing but your capture and replay. Most of the times we'll be using this capture and replay rather than self-checks followed by comparison technique, because always we need to automate. We will be having a data or available in our particular database. That data need to be converted or need to be saved or need to be put it in a separate fashion where the pages looks very much good. That's what we can say. So with respect to that scenario, you can go with capture and replay. That's it with respect to your test execution. So any doubt with respect to test execution? Any doubt with respect to test execution part? Okay. So few of the topics has been missed with respect to your statement coverage, followed by block coverage, followed by loop coverage. Okay. We'll just check it out one by one. So the statement coverage adequacy criteria. This will be asked most of the time. They have asked this question. So that's why I just took this particular topic also. So statement coverage adequacy criteria. What is a statement coverage adequacy criteria? How many test cases has been covered? How many have been failed? It is feasible and infeasible. We'll be taking it, right? How to choose the feasible one? How to choose the infeasible one? What is a relationship that is existing between them? That's what they are saying it with respect to this. Statement coverage. All the statements need to be covered. That is what. If you take in what way all the statements can be covered in that particular path that you have chosen. For that, you require a formula to be computed. The formula says SC divided by SE minus SI, where SC is nothing but the statements covered, the total number of statements that has been covered. So SI is nothing but number of unreachable statements. That means with respect to that path, the rest of the statements need to be left out, right? So those unreachable statements, if you have it, that one you can just capture it. SE always refers to this number of statements in the program, total number of statements in the program. That is the size of the test coverage domain. That's what they are saying. We take an example for it. See here. One simple code, a snippet or a pseudo code is written. So where you have a procedure to begin and to end. So here int x is x comma y, two variables has been declared, and one more variable z has been declared. All these three are int variables. That is integer type of variables that you are taking it. Next one is fourth one, input x and y. You are taking x and y input from the standard input devices, so where keyboard or any other thing. So after inputting that, you make z value equal to 0 for the first time. Initialize z value 0 once you capture the values for x and y. That is the thing. Fifth statement, what it says is, if x is less than 0 and y is less than 0, then compute the value of z. In what way it need to be computed, they have given that particular scenario. Z should be equal to x multiplied by x. That means x times you need to just multiply it and make the z value to the new one. That's what they are given it. Next one is seventh statement. Seventh statement, if this is over, if we are still in the if loop itself, x is less than 0, y is less than 0 is there, right? So the same particular loop only we are having it. If suppose y greater than or equal to 0, if it is coming, means then z is equal to z plus 1. That's what they have given. So this is a scenario that has been given. If this fails, x is less than 0 and y is less than 0 fails, at that particular point of time, z should be computed as x cubed. Output the z value, come out of that particular if loop. That's what they are saying it. Understanding it now? So this is the simple scenario. So with respect to this, the coverage domain, that is the total number of statements that you are having it. I'm just writing it over here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is that, followed by 7. B has been addressed. So followed by 9 and 10. This is treated as 7th statement with respect to this, and 7th B is treated as the next statement. So all these particular statements need to be taken care. Now my test suite, I'm just capturing it. I'm just having the test suite as two different test suites. For first time, x is equal to -1, y is equal to -1. Second time, x is equal to 1, y is equal to 1. If x is equal to -1, y is equal to -1, if I feed it, what is the test statements covered in this particular scenario? We have seen this, but with respect to the formula, we need to just analyze it. That's it. So T1, if it is -1 and -1, right? So 2, 3 statements will be executed. There is no problem at all. Fourth statement will be executed, followed by fifth one. If the fifth one is true, then it will be going with the sixth statement execution. Seventh statement will be executed. There is no question of 7B. Seventh statement will be executed, and it will be coming back to the 10th statement. That is output that particular Z value. That's it. Whereas test case 2, with respect to that, positive number. So this if is completely skipped. So it will go with 2, 3, 4. After that, ninth statement will be executed. Here they have missed it. Fifth statement should be executed. If it is false, then it will go with the ninth statement. Then it will go with the 10th statement execution. This is what it is happening. So total SC means statements that has been covered. The statements that has been covered with respect to your test case 1, T1, if you have it. What it is the thing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So 7 test cases, so 7 elements, total elements that you are having it in this. So with respect to this, the coverage, the statements that has been covered is 6. How it is 6? With respect to 2, 3, 4, followed by 6 is that, and 7 is that. 10th is just an output, right? So we can just leave that. The next one is SI. SI is what? What is SI? Yes, I refers to number of unreachable statements. See here, 7th is reached, whereas 7B is unreachable. So that's what they are saying it with respect to 1. So with respect to this, the test coverage matrix, test adequacy criteria with respect to statement coverage is 6 divided by 7 minus 1. So how much it will be? 1. So all the statements has been covered. That's what they are saying. It is an adequate one with respect to this particular scenario. Next one is block coverage adequacy criteria. Same thing, BC divided by BE minus BI. BC in the sense block coverage. BE in the sense block which are unreachable. BI in the sense total number of blocks that is available in the complete thing. Block coverage means the complete block. The same particular thing that I'm just taking it, the same example, I'm putting it in a block. First block indicates your initialization part and the input, capturing values of that. All those things will be taken care with respect to one block. Along with this, the first if decision, whatever the decision that you are making now, that one will be taking it as one particular block. Now, the if condition, if it is true, the next possible statements need to be executed, right? So for that reason, we will be just going with the one more block. Z is equal to x multiplied by x. If y greater than or equal to 0 still, then it will be taken care with respect to z is equal to z plus 1. That's what it will be taking it. So once if it is done, then it will be outputting the value. If this is failing, then it will be outputting the z value. That's what it is saying. So if here x is less than 0 followed by y is less than 0, if it is failing means, then it will be just going to take care with z is equal to x cube, x to the power of 3. That's what it is saying. So this is with respect to the scenario. Now we have identified the blocks. From inputting x, y followed by z value, whatever you are taking it, afterwards, whatever the value that you are giving it from the standard input, or capturing it from the standard input, all those details will be just putting it in one particular thing, and followed by the if statement, first if statement. After that, the next block comes into picture. Still the if statement, next block will be there. Once the if statement is there, then the next block will come. Like this, how many blocks we have? 5 different blocks. That particular coverage block, BE, that I'm just writing it. BE is nothing but what? Total number of blocks in the program. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the first one, 4 statements are there. In the second one, 2 statements are there. In the third one, 1 statement. Fourth one, 1 statement. Fifth one, 1 statement. That's all. So the next one is, I'm just taking the test case suit. So here, 3 test case suit, I'm just putting it. X value with respect to this, first time -1 and y is equal to -1. What happens? I just need to check it out. X is equal to minus 3, y is equal to minus 1, what happens? X is equal to minus 1, y is equal to minus 3, that is what I need to just give it. I need to check with respect to all these particular things. So first one is, I'm talking about the blocks. I'm not talking about the statements here. So blocks need to be covered. That's what they are saying it. So with respect to this, so T1, if you are just putting it, X is equal to minus 1, y is equal to minus 1. So the first block need to be traversed. So there is no question of it. Here it will be just taking care. Next, immediately, since this will be true, second block will be executed. That is, Z will be X square, X to the power of 2. So that's what it will be just computing. Then it will be computing the in this particular block, what is that? If y is greater than or equal to 0, no, it is false. So it will directly jump to the fifth particular statement that is available. So fifth block is output the z value. That's what it is saying with respect to T1. T2 and T3, if you just compare it, so the same thing will happen with respect to your as of T1 itself. There is no change in it. So with respect to this scenario, your block, with respect to the block, total number of blocks in the program is 5. BC is nothing but total blocks that has been covered. So that has been covered is 3 only with respect to all these particular test suite. So now with respect to your BI, if you are taking it is equal to 1. Why it is equal to 1? One block is unreachable always with respect to all these particular things. One block at least it will be unreachable. So with respect to that, BI is equal to 1. So now if you compute the value, your test coverage will be equal to 0.75. That means test T2 is not adequate enough. If it is 1, then it will be just nothing but everything is completed. If it is less than 1, 0.75, 0.25, then it will be, there is a some particular wrong assumption, or the test is not completely adequate enough to handle it. That's what it says with respect to this. Next one will be the last particular part, that is nothing but your conditional coverage adequacy. So all these, first one we are talking about the statements, next one we will be blocked in. Next one is conditional. Conditional means if else statement only we are just considering it. So with respect to that, how many conditions that you have covered, simple conditions that you have covered, and then how many are infeasible simple conditions, and total number of conditions that is available in the entire program. That's what they are saying it. Same program with respect to it, a small change in it now. So what they have taken is int x, y, z, input x comma y, z is not equal to anything now. So if x is less than 0 and y is less than 0, z will be equal to foo1, that is a function will be called with respect to this x comma y. Maybe it may be computing the x to the power of 2 itself separately. Else foo2 need to be computed. Then output the z and that particular program. So with respect to this, we need to consider the test case suite. What will be the test case suite now? So for this, T1 will be equal to, T1 is taking it as x is equal to minus 3, y is equal to minus 2. And T2 is taking it as x is equal to minus 4, y is equal to minus 2. If you put these particular values in the entire program, you need to just check out how many statements that has been, how many decision making statements that has been executed with respect to that, how it behaves. See here, with respect to it, only one decision making statement that is available. Either if statement will be executed or else statement will be executed. So check that T is adequate with respect to the statement block and decision coverage criteria, and the program behaves correctly with respect to T1 and T2. How it is mentioned over here. So CC is nothing but test coverage. So that is what if condition, only one if condition is there. So one particular conditional coverage statement that you are having it. CE in the sense total number of coverages, if block is there, else block is there. So that's why 2 total coverage. CI is none of the block is eliminated from it. So 0. So it will be half the thing. That is either if statement will be executed or your else statement will be executed. That's what it says with respect to this particular scenario. So this is test adequacy criteria with respect to statement coverage, with respect to block coverage, with respect to conditional coverage. Any doubt with respect to this? Any doubt with respect to today's class?